Finally, we have come to the last part of the chapter where we'll be discussing our third source of fossil fuel, that is natural gas. So natural gas, is derived along with petroleum, and it is formed in the seabeds at the bottom of the sea when the decaying aquatic plants and animals remains are getting stratified over layers of rocks and soil under extreme of heat, pressure and temperature. Okay, so when this gas is formed, as a result it rises above, and it is a very important fossil fuel. It is a clean source of energy, cleaner than LPG, your liquefied petroleum gas. All right, and it is stored under high pressure and is known as commonly known as your compressed natural gas. Compressed natural gas, or your CNG, or your natural gas in short, it's a very cleaner source of energy, and it is very easy to transport. It can be transported via laying of pipes, and that's it. So that means if you were to use natural gas as a source of fuel for cooking food in your respective homes, you won't be needing any cylinders as compared to the LPG cylinders. You can if the sources there are adequate, then you can get the natural gas supply directly through pipes. This is not available all over India, but in some places, especially in Vadodara, Gujarat, and some parts of Delhi, this setup is there because there you have the adequate means of technological resources and economic support to transfer natural gas via the laying out of pipes directly to your homes. Okay. Apart from that, if you may notice, if you book a cab like Ola or an Uber or any other cab, then at the back side of the cab, you have a very big cylinder. That cylinder is of CNG because those cars they do not run on petrol or diesel, but rather they use this compressed natural gas as a source of their engine. Okay, so why is this used? Because this is a cleaner fuel. A lot of toxic chemicals that are toxic gases that are produced when petrol and diesel is used as a source of your engines, that is eliminated when you use CNG. So the great advantage of CNG is that it can be used directly for burning in homes and factories where it can be supplied through pipes. And the other great advantage is that it's a cleaner source of fuel. So you may not be so you will be using it very readily, and you won't be having that constant worry that you are polluting the environment. Okay, natural gas is also used as a starting material, as a base, if I may use that word, for the manufacture of a number of chemicals and fertilizers. Okay, now reserves of natural gas in India. In India, natural gas has been found mainly in Tripura, that is the northeast, and in Rajasthan towards the west, Maharashtra, and in the Krishna Godavari Delta towards the south. So natural gas is not exactly found where the petroleum gas is being found, but it is found in some places where petroleum is also being found. For example, in Maharashtra, for example, in Krishna Godavari Delta. Whereas the petroleum was readily found in Assam, natural gas has a large reserve in the side of Tripura. Okay, can petroleum can coal, petroleum, and natural gas be prepared in the laboratory from dead organisms? Now, I had given you this very example that you cannot, just you cannot just take dead remains of plants and animals, and you cannot just sort of rope it inside the soil layers, and you can expect that within a few weeks or so you can get coal, or you can get petroleum, or you can get natural gas. No, because these fossil fuels, they take millions of years to form, and they take the kind of heat, the kind of pressure, the kind of compression, okay, that they require. Okay, that cannot be just available, that cannot be just basically provided to them if in laboratories. There has to be that temperature and that pressure, and that has to be provided inside the layer of the earth, be it in the seabeds, be it at the bottom of the seas, or be it just under the layer of the earth, under the soil. Okay, in amidst the rocks and soil layers. All right, the heat, the temperature, the pressure, that compression that they require, that cannot be provided to them via laboratories, that cannot be synthetically provided to them, okay, just by producing something or the other like we humans always tend to do. This is formed over a million, or this is formed over millions and millions of years, and this is a natural occurring substance. Okay, it's not being produced synthetically. So you cannot produce these fossil fuels in laboratories. Their formation is a very slow process, and the conditions of the formation, the conditions, those same conditions of extreme heat, of extreme pressure, and obviously heat is there, so there will be an increased temperature. So that you cannot create in the laboratory, you cannot harness in the laboratory. That has to be there, that is automatically created under the layers of the earth or in the ocean beds. Okay. Now, some natural sources are limited, this we have already seen, and these are known as exhaustible natural resources. And fossil fuels that we have learned in this chapter, coal, petroleum, natural gas, these are very common examples of exhaustible natural resources. Means they cannot be used inexhaustibly. There will be a point where they will be completely depleted because of their over consumption. So when we are using these natural resources, we have to be extremely careful. All right, we have to use them in a sustainable manner. Okay, we have to use them in a sustainable manner so that it can be there for the use, it can be available for the use for the future generations as well. We don't we should not be selfish over their uses. Okay, since it is easy, you're getting extracting coal, you're extracting petroleum, you're extracting natural gas, so let's just use all of them. No, because the point will come when they will all be consumed, and due to overconsumption they'll be depleted, and our future generations won't have any source of energy. So to preserve their uses, okay, and also to preserve the environment, that will be discussed in the next slide. Okay, natural resources, they should be very they should be used with very caution. All right. The known reserves of these will last only a few hundred years, and since it required their animals, to this required millions of years to form out of those decaying dead and plant animals. So we should be courteous towards their use, and we should be very cautious towards their uses. Okay. Now, yes, fossil fuel as a source of air pollution. The other reason why we should be very cautious, because I had already given you a vague idea of this concept, that the excessive burning of coal or petroleum uses or any other kind of fossil fuel, natural gas, the excessive burn is going to release carbon dioxide. Carbon, since it is rich in hydrocarbon, all right, the main constituent of this fossil fuel is hydrocarbon. So there has to be a very high content of carbon, and there has to be a very high content of hydrogen as well. And the main pollutant, the main gas that is released when these fossil fuels are burned is carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide, if you may remember, is a greenhouse gas. All right, means this gas, when it is in large quantities in our atmosphere and our surroundings, then it will not allow the heat from the atmosphere to escape into the outer space. Rather, it will trap the heat. All right, and it will trap the heat, and it will increase the overall temperature of the earth, leading to global warming. All right, apart from carbon dioxide, there's the production of other gases as well, other poisonous gases that are known as air pollutants, that that damage your respiratory system. If you may look here in this diagram over here, that damage your respiratory system, that damage your respiratory organs, okay, that cause you breathing problems. All right, and they are also directly affecting our forests as well. Okay, so this is it is therefore necessary that we use fuels only when absolutely required. When absolutely required, this will result in better environment, because this will not only recede the amount of air pollution that we are facing now, but the risk of global warming would also be lessened, and also their availability would be there for a longer period. So the preservation would be solved. Okay, the question of preservation would be solved. Our earth would be saved, and there would be the extent of global warming could be stopped. All right. But now, unfortunately, it is very difficult now to reverse this cycle, because we humans, we have unleashed um, natural calamities upon us. So it's very difficult to say when this chain of reaction is going to stop. But it is important for you to understand over here that when we talk about global warming and when we talk about preservation, all right, you have to remember this in mind. This is the very basic concept where you are learning that why the use of exhaustible natural resources such as fossil fuels, such as coal, such as petroleum, such as natural gas should be limited to use, and should be preserved also, so that the earth is also a greener place, okay, and so that our future generations could also enjoy it. How to save petrol or diesel while driving? You may come across some solutions on your own. All right. For example, in a heavy traffic area, you may observe that some people, they keep their engines running on. All right. While some of them, they stop it. So it is better that you stop it so that you can conserve petrol, or you can conserve diesel, or whatever fuel that your vehicle is running on. Okay. So in order to preserve it, it's important that you stop it when you encounter a heavy traffic, not just a red light. Even if you encounter a heavy traffic, it is important that you just stop the use of your engine, so that your natural gas is getting preserved. Because you may think that, oh, it's just for 2 minutes, but no, those 2 minutes for a prolonged period of time can result to uh, a very a huge number of minutes, and that minutes can conserve a lot of petrol or a lot of gas. All right, and that will ultimately lead to a preservation of natural resources. In addition to that, in India, the Petroleum Conservation Research Association, also known as the PCRA, Petroleum Conservation Research Association, advises people how to save petrol or diesel. So there are some guidelines, some official guidelines that have been released, and they advise people, they educate people on how to conserve these fossil fuels. First is to drive at a constant and moderate speed as far as possible, because the higher the speed is, the more amount of fuel you're consuming. All right. So it's better to drive at a constant and a moderate speed, and this will also, save you from any untoward accidents. Okay. Then switch off the engine at traffic lights that I explained in the previous slides, or any other place where you have to wait for a longer period. Then ensure correct tire pressure, because that could also then hinder you to conserve the usage of your fuel. And ensure regular maintenance of vehicle, because of course, some in some old vehicles, if there is no constant customer service being happening, then that vehicle may release very toxic air pollutants that is very harmful for our respiratory system. So it is very important that whatever vehicle you're using, be it a two-wheeler, be it a four-wheeler, you are constantly taking those vehicles to the customer care, to the servicing. All right, so that whatever engine processing or cleanup, whatever is required, okay, that is maintained, and so that your vehicle is not aiding, your not vehicle is not producing a lot of toxic pollutants. How can you contribute to the conservation of natural resources? So there are some things that you can do on your own part. All right. Some things such as you can reduce the use of natural resources, or if there are something that you can recycle, then you should do it, or you should reuse it. So those 3 R's formula: reduce, recycle, reuse. What else you can do? You can educate, like I am trying to educate you on the usage and the adequate uses and the proper conservation that you should keep in mind while using natural resources. So you can educate others. If any other members in your family, or any of your friends, they are not paying any attention towards this crucial topic, then you may try to educate them, so that um, there is a proper there is a proper conservation of natural resources overall. Okay. And what else? Then you can use some sustainable measures. If you have say, if you have a source of energy that is a cleaner source, there is this hydropower source of energy, there is this solar energy, there is this wind energy. So if you can access these sources of energy, then you may want to stop using fossil fuels as your source of energy, because these are exhaustible resources, whereas other kinds of energy like solar energy, these are inexhaustible source of resources. You can always and always, if possible, take sustainable measures, or if it is possible for others to adopt these sustainable measures, then you can also and always encourage them, okay, to do so. So these are some of the ways in which you can contribute to the conservation of natural resources. And finally, we have an energy map of India, where you can see that different structures are there that indicate oil field, gas field, or oil line, gas line. Okay, then where your coal is being mined, mostly where the thermal power plant is, where the nuclear power plant is, where the hydropower plant is, where water is used as a source of energy, and the major cities and the ports. You can pause the video here and you can have a look where there are vast sources of energy reserves, be it in the form of coal, be it in the form of petroleum, or be it in the form of natural resources. So with this map over here, we come to the end of this chapter where we learned about natural resources, mainly the exhaustible resources such as the fossil fuels. We learned about the formation of these fossil fuels by dead and decaying organic matters, how they are stratified, and the layers of soils and rocks for the formation of coal, petroleum, and natural gas. Now we will be having a quick revision where we will be recapitulating the important points that we have learned in this chapter. Let's have a look at them one by one. Natural resources are those resources that exist without any human intervention, any action of humankind. So humans, we don't have to do anything in order for those natural materials to exist. We don't have to, there is no way that we can produce them in the laboratories, all right? So there are two types of natural resources: exhaustible, those resources that can be used over a period of time, and they can at one point they will be depleted altogether. And then there are inexhaustible natural resources, means those natural resources that cannot be depleted, that cannot be just finished over a period of time, but they are rather available for our uses, for our future use. Coal, petroleum, and natural gas are the three kinds of fossil fuels that we have learned in this chapter. And fossil fuels, they are formed from the dead remains of living organisms millions of years ago. Dead and decaying plants and animals remain that get trapped in the soil layer, in the rock layer, they get stratified, and in the presence of heat, in the presence of pressure, these dead and decaying organic matter, they carbonize, means they are converted into carbon, into constituents of carbon, be it coal. Okay, so and this is how they are produced, and this is how they are formed, and they take millions of years to be formed, so they cannot be produced, they cannot be synthesized in laboratories. Okay, coal is as hard as stone and is black in color. When heated in air, it burns and mainly produces carbon dioxide. So coal was earlier used as a source of heat and electricity both, but now it is mainly used as a source of heat. All right, and coal was the first choice when railway engine was invented, when your street lightings, for the source of your street lightings, for the source of your cooking food. So earlier, in every other um, usage, coal was the first choice as a fossil fuel. Later on, when petroleum, natural gas, and other sources came up, and other sustainable sources such as solar energy and wind energy they came up, then now the usage of coal has been decreased. The other types of coal products that you get after refining coal is coke, which is a hard porous substance, coal tar, the black liquid substance, and coal gas, which you get as a byproduct when you are obtaining coke from coal. Petroleum is also known as crude oil. It is also known as oil, and it is a naturally occurring yellowish black liquid. It is also known as black gold, okay, formed from organisms living in the sea. So it's the same, the process of formation is the same. The only difference is that coal is formed under the layer of the earth, I mean directly under the earth's surface, whereas petroleum and natural gas, they occur in the ocean beds. All right, and both of them, all of them basically, they occur from the same same kind of decomposition, same kind of decaying from dead organic plants and animals. Petroleum gas, petrol, diesel, kerosene, paraffin wax, lubricating oil, these are some of the common products that you get as a source of many other different items by refining petroleum. Then there are some other products that you get from refining petroleum. These are the chemical compounds. These are known as petrochemicals, and they are used in synthesizing synthetic fibers, and in synthesizing detergent, and many other uses, many other products. Then you get natural gas, which is a cleaner source of energy, which can be directly transported via pipes and in your homes rather than the cylinder that you have when you use the LPG. Okay, and it's stored under very high pressure, therefore it is known as compressed natural gas. Coal and petroleum sources are limited. We should use them judiciously because they are our natural sources, natural exhaustible resources. Burning of these fuels is a major cause of air pollution because the major product that is getting released is carbon dioxide, along with other toxic gases that are harmful for respiratory system. And carbon dioxide is ultimately, contributing to global warming since it is a greenhouse gas. Okay, so along with air pollution, you are also inviting you're also basically contributing to the increase in the global warming. Therefore, you should use these fossil fuels very judiciously, all right, and so that it is also available for the use of a future generation. And in addition to that, Petroleum Conservation Research Association (PCRA) it has released some guidelines in which it has advised people on how to use petrol, diesel in a very sustainable manner so that their amount, their quantity, it can be saved while driving. So this is what all you had to learn here in this chapter, coal and petroleum. We saw a look at the natural resources, we saw a look at the fossil fuels, and we saw at their wide applications. So make sure that whenever you get a chance to educate others, or make sure that whenever you get a chance to reduce, reuse, and recycle your exhaustible natural resources, you please do so that you are also contributing to a greener, healthier earth. Till then, take care and thank you so much for joining me here on Study.